In this video, we will analyze and learn about India's 2021 budget, what its underlying theme is, and how India is planning to reach the $5 trillion economic milestone. The underlying theme of this budget is Atmanirbhar, which means self-reliance, and inclusion. In Hindi, we call it Samavesh. So whatever that we are going to read about the budget, I will explain and connect with these two themes so that it's easily relatable and hence makes your understanding much easier. Alright then, without any further ado, let's begin. The Union budget has been categorized under 6 pillars. We will go through each one of them one by one. Since the budget is quite long, I have divided this into 6 parts so that you can easily grasp. This is part 1 and the first pillar is health and well-being. The government has announced to spend a total of around 2,23,846 crore in the healthcare sector. Last year it was around 94,452 crore. So this year there has been an increase of 137%. If you all know, healthcare comprises of hospitals, medical devices, clinical trials, outsourcing, telemedicine, medical tourism, health insurance and medical equipment. Healthcare has become one of India's largest sector growth in terms of revenue and employment. Currently, the Government of India's expenditure in healthcare is around 1.6% of India's GDP. The Government of India is planning to increase public health spending to 2.5% of the country's GDP by 2025. One more thing that you have to understand is that there are 3 ways through which the Government of India intervenes as well as controls the health sector. The first one is through National Health Mission, then through Ministry of Ayush, and then there is the public-private partnership. As you may know, in your city you will see that there is public hospital and then there is private hospitals. And further there are private diagnostic centers, clinics, etc. Public hospitals are funded by the government, so we also call them government hospitals. Many times you will see that the government hospitals near your house is not fully equipped with modern state-of-the-art equipment. I'm not saying the government doesn't have modern equipments, I'm saying they are not enough for general public. That is why public has to wait in line for a surgery that may take few months. And then corruption is also a reality that delays treatment. That is why general public goes to the private hospital. And we all know that private hospitals are expensive. Those who have money can afford treatment at a private hospital. For others, there are government health schemes like Ayushman Bharat Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, and many more state as well as central government health schemes. Under these schemes, there are many private hospitals which are called empaneled hospitals. A citizen who cannot afford high expenditure can avail treatment from empaneled private hospitals through one of these government-provided schemes. So this is called public-private partnership. So the treatment that you avail in these private hospitals through government health schemes are covered by the government. That is where the government investment in health sector increases. Let's go to the second point. Now 2020 was the year of pandemic, so naturally the government has to ensure the availability of COVID-19 vaccine. For that, the Government of India has allocated Rs 35,000 crore for the development and manufacturing of COVID-19 vaccines. The Finance Minister has also said that more funds would be required. As you all know, last month in January, the Government of India approved 2 vaccines for emergency use in the country. One is the Covishield, developed by pharma giant AstraZeneca and Oxford University and manufactured by Pune-based Serum Institute. And the second one is Covaxin, developed and manufactured by Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech. India has already begun its vaccination drive and it has already vaccinated 3 million people so far, which primarily include healthcare workers and frontline workers. And the vaccination drive is being rolled out in phases. Now the Finance Minister has also mentioned that more investment is required in developing more vaccines. Now the question is, where will the money come from? For that, the Government of India has created a cess. A cess is a tax. It is usually known as a tax on tax. Government often charges cess for the purpose of development in social sectors. This cess has been levied on petrol and diesel. A cess of Rs 2.5 per litre on petrol and 4 rupees per litre on diesel has been levied by the government. Now you may think that the fuel prices are going to increase, but that is not the case. Already the excise duty earned by the government on 1 litre of petrol and diesel is so much that this cess has been added by removing an equivalent amount in the excise duty, making the price neutral for consumers. But always remember one thing, that the government is not going to operate on loss. As you may all know that the prices of fuel is governed by international market. If you look at the price breakup of petrol and diesel, you will see that there is VAT plus excise duty plus dealer's commission. Even if the prices of crude oil per barrel is low, the end consumer does not get the benefit. It is because fuel prices fluctuates frequently. That means when the prices of crude oil per barrel is low, the profit that is earned by the government is used to balance the losses during falling oil market. Basically, it is a method to bring down the fiscal deficit. So what I'm trying to say is that even if the government applies a cess in your fuel price to fund COVID vaccines, it does not mean that the government is incurring loss. Currently, the cost of crude oil per barrel is well within the price limit, where the government of India can afford to generate revenue for COVID vaccine. Let's go to the third point. Pneumococcal vaccine is also known as the pneumonia vaccine. Last month in January 2021, Pune-based Serum Institute of India unveiled India's first indigenously developed pneumococcal vaccine. This is the same company that made COVID vaccine in India. Anyhow, Serum Institute of India developed pneumococcal vaccine through a collaboration with two other health organizations, that is PATH and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now this vaccine targets the pneumococcal bacterium, which causes pneumonia and other serious life-threatening diseases in children under 5 years of age. As of now, this vaccine has been introduced in a phased manner in 5 major Indian states. They are Himachal Pradesh, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Now the government wants to roll out across the country. And the main point about this vaccine is that it is the first made in India pneumococcal vaccine. Previously, India had to import these vaccines. Anything that is being made in India, you can easily link it with Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. In other words, being self-reliant or self-sufficient and not depend much on other countries. Now let's go to the next point. So Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana is a new centrally sponsored scheme. Under this scheme, the government is planning to establish 17,788 rural and 11,024 urban health and wellness centers. Health and wellness center is nothing but your primary healthcare center that you will find near your house. Then the government is also planning to set up 4 regional National Institute for Virology. If you all remember, when this pandemic started in March 2020, India had only one laboratory where COVID tests could be conducted. That was the National Institute of Virology in Pune. But now under this new scheme, 4 such new institutes will be established. Then the government also wants to set up 15 health emergency operations centers and 2 mobile hospitals. So Health Emergency Operations Centers is a physical location or virtual space in which designated public health emergency management personnel assemble to coordinate operational information and resources for strategic management of public health events and emergencies. A mobile hospital is a medical center or a small hospital with full medical equipment that can be moved and settled in a new place and situation quickly in order to provide medical services to patients or wounded persons in critical conditions such as war or natural disasters. The government is also going to set up integrated public health labs in 11 states. Public health labs are very important because whenever there is any pandemic or epidemic, instead of sending samples to big cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Pune or Hyderabad, research and testing can be done in the district laboratories. You can look at this as a step towards decentralization. If all these big cities have big medical and technological infrastructures, then every time any emergency comes, the whole country have to be dependent on these big cities for sample testing. That may take a lot of time. So the whole idea behind setting up integrated public health labs is to be self-dependent. Again, connect this point with Atmanirbhar initiative. As a country, we want to be self-sufficient and not depend much on other countries. Similarly, as a city, district or region, the central government wants to make them self-dependent and self-sufficient by doing following investments. The government will also establish critical care hospital blocks in 602 districts and 12 central institutions. The previous explanation is applied over here as well. The government also wants to strengthen National Center for Disease Control, its 5 regional branches and 20 metropolitan health surveillance units and expand integrated health information portal to all states and union territories. Now NCDC means National Center for Disease Control. It comes directly under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Whenever there is any epidemic or any communicable disease in the country, this organization is responsible for the research as well as control of such epidemic and diseases. Currently, it has 8 branches at Alwar, Bengaluru, Trivandrum, Calicut, Coonoor, Jagdalpur, Patna, Rajahmundry and Varanasi to advise the respective state government on public health. The headquarters is in New Delhi. The government also wants India to have a regional research platform for World Health Organization Southeast Asia region. We all know that World Health Organization is a body of the United Nations that is responsible for international public health. The headquarters of WHO is in Geneva, Switzerland. Now Switzerland is in Europe. This organization has its regional branches in almost all regions of the world, like Western Europe, Central and Eastern Europe, Asia, Africa, Mediterranean, and in America. The government of India is pushing the idea for having a regional research platform for WHO Southeast Asia region in India. Basically, these are the countries that comes under Southeast Asia region. India is part of South Asia, not Southeast Asia. If you all remember, both India as well as China competes to gain influence in the southeastern region. Now everyone knows that the pandemic came from China, and it is India that developed vaccine, and India is also giving it free to few neighboring countries as well as selling the vaccine to countries like Brazil, UAE and Saudi Arabia. That means in the game of healthcare diplomacy, India is ahead of China. So after making itself capable, India is now bidding to have a regional platform of the World Health Organization Southeast Asia region. If this is successful, then India's reputation in the international health industry will rise. The government is also planning to build 9 biosafety level 3 laboratories. First, I'll show you a picture of what biosafety level 3 laboratory design looks like. Scientists use biosafety labs to study contagious materials safely and effectively. These state-of-the-art labs are designed not only to protect researchers from contamination, but also to prevent microorganisms from entering the environment. There are 4 biosafety levels. They are BSL-1, BSL-2, BSL-3 and BSL-4. BSL-4 is the highest maximum level of containment. If you are doing research on animal or agriculture, then there are laboratories by the name of ABSL and BSL-AG. Now we know BSL-4 is the highest level of biological safety. That means BSL-3 is 1 rank down. In biosafety level 3 laboratories, scientists work on those kind of pathogens or microbes that can cause serious and potentially lethal disease through inhalation route. If you see, coronavirus also spreads through breathing. So that is where the necessity came for building biosafety level 3 laboratories. So again, the whole point is to be self-reliant or self-sufficient. So that is what the aim is behind launching Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana. And for this, the government of India has planned to spend Rs 64,180 crore over the span of 6 years. Now coming to nutrition part. Poshan is the Hindi translation for nutrition. As we know, nutrition comes from food. That means you need to think about those government schemes where the government of India is providing food and the aim is to provide nutrition for bodily development. Now these schemes include Integrated Child Development Services, Anganwadi Services, Poshan Abhiyan, Scheme for Adolescent Girls and National Crèche Scheme. It not only includes children, it also includes pregnant women and lactating mothers. The initial Poshan Abhiyan was launched on 8th March 2018 on the occasion of the International Women's Day. It was launched from Jhunjhunu, a place in Rajasthan. The full form of the word Poshan is Prime Minister's overarching scheme for holistic nutrition. And the aim behind this initiative is to solve the problem of malnutrition. By launching Mission Poshan 2.0, the Government of India has basically merged the Supplementary Nutrition Program which comes under the Integrated Child Development Services and the Poshan Abhiyan. And for this new initiative, the Government of India has some serious strategies which will be adopted in order to improve nutrition outcomes across 112 districts in India. Now let's go to the next point. It is about Urban Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0. Pay attention to the word urban. It means it is focusing on the urban areas which include towns and cities. So basically the Union government is launching the second phase of the Urban Swachh Bharat Mission. The Swachh Bharat Mission Urban 2.0 would be implemented over 5 years, that is from 2021 till 2026, with an investment of rupees 1.41 lakh crore. Now think about it. If you want to develop urban area, that too by keeping in mind the Swachh Bharat mission, all you have to think about is all those different sectors that generates wastes and causes pollution. Because anything that creates waste as well as pollution has to be cleaned, and that will definitely come under the Swachh Bharat mission. Those areas are urban transportation. If the government creates more public transportation facilities like buses and metro, then public will not use their own private vehicles much. That way there will be less pollution and traffic. To make buses and metro lines, government has to adopt public-private partnership model. Because the private sector has capital and resources to build and maintain such infrastructure. So investing in public transportation will not only reduce pollution, it will also give employment and generate revenue for both private sector as well as government. Now wastewater treatment, segregation of garbage, reduction in single-use plastic, reduction in air pollution by effectively managing waste from construction and demolition activities, and bio-recycling of dump sites, providing clean water, then sanitation is also part of the urban Swachh Bharat mission. But if you notice, these are also important aspects for having a good health. And this is where the government has linked Swachh Bharat with Swasth Bharat. Because Swachh Bharat is related to cleanliness and Swasth Bharat is related to health. As we all know, personal hygiene is very important to maintain a good health and prevent any diseases. Similarly, social hygiene is also very important in maintaining public health. After all, human resource plays a significant role in the economic development of a country. Let's go to the next point. Although I'm not exactly sure how the government of India is going to use this money to tackle air pollution, but for a broad understanding, what I can tell you is that the government uses mainly 4 kinds of policies. The first one is the government adds a tax to raise the price of any commodity or activity so that it discourages more people to buy or do that. The second thing that the government does is it gives subsidy to the alternative activity or product which the government thinks is the second best option. The third thing that the government does is it also bans certain products or activities that can increase pollutants. And last but not the least, government introduces permits so that it can regulate and keep a track how much of what is happening. So overall, these are the 4 ways a government handles not just air pollution, but any problem in general. So my assumption is that government is going to use this money in probably giving subsidy, because giving subsidy is like an incentive to encourage people to do certain things. Similarly, adding a tax or giving permit is a way for the government to generate revenue. That means probably we also know how this amount is being generated. In other words, earning through penalty and fines and tax, which is basically meant to discourage certain activity, is now being used to tackle the consequences. Sounds strange, but it can easily become a loop. And if it becomes a profitable loop, then there is no incentive to break the loop. Anyhow, think of it as a food for thought. The last point is vehicle scrappage policy has been announced. Now this policy will serve to take old polluting vehicles off the road. Because it is assumed that old vehicles tend to create more pollution and have outdated safety features. If you are aware, as per the Central Motor Vehicle rules, all private vehicles have to be re-registered with the RTO after 15 years for every 5 years if it passes the government fitness test. Now what the government is saying is, after 20 years, that is 15 years plus 5 years of re-registration, the government wants vehicle owners to get rid of their personal vehicles after 20 years if it does not passes the government fitness test. Similarly, for commercial vehicles, it is after 15 years. Of course, when you scrap your old vehicle, you will get some discount on the purchase of new vehicle. The vehicle manufacturing company can definitely recycle your old vehicle by stripping out different parts like rubber, iron, steel, plastic, aluminium, brass, carbon, etc. and make use of it. This way, India will reduce its import of scrap material. Again, connect this point with Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is self-reliant or self-sufficient. Then this will also improve sales of new vehicles. Let's say at an average a person drives for 40 years. Although it is highly unlikely, but let's just assume that you buy your first car at 20. You plan to keep it for the next 20 years. And then you scrap it. You buy your second vehicle at 40. You continue till you're 60. That means even at an average, someone buys at least 2 vehicles in their lifetime. Car manufacturing companies have an incentive to keep making cars, considering the huge consumer market and population India has. This is a hypothetical situation at the lowest end. As we know, today many families own 2 to 3 cars. You may even end up buying more than 2 cars in a lifetime. So the point is, as per this new vehicle scrappage policy, the vehicle manufacturing companies do have an incentive for producing as well as selling new vehicles. Right now in India, there are so many vehicles that are close to 15 to 20 years mark. Those numbers can be in millions. Getting rid of those vehicles which do not pass the government fitness test will definitely ease up on the pollution end, as well as India's import of scrap materials. Now please don't think that the government will forcefully take away your vehicle after 20 years. If at all your vehicle's engine is in good condition even after 20 years, then you can continue using it. So these are the main points that covers the health and well-being aspect of the 2021 Union Budget. In the next part, I will cover the physical and financial capital and infrastructure part.